Good morning. I would like to thank you for inviting me on this conference. In my opinion, the engagement, students and lecturers is the key success factor in good teaching and learning.
Good morning. We would like to invite all the participants of ECAF 2020 to check up on our presentation. It will be about quality assurance, social competences, and quality culture. It will present the results of DASCHE project, which is Development, Assessment and Validation of Social Competences in Higher Education. The project have ended this year. We will now shortly introduce ourselves. Jakub, would you say some words about you?
Thank you, Jakub. I'm an associate professor at SGH, Warsaw School of Economics. At the same time, I'm a rector's proxy for quality of education. I cooperate with CEPS, University of Twente. I'm also representing Poland in Bologna follow-up group for quality assurance and in the project Microball. Jakub, would you now introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Jakub Grodecki. I currently serve as Executive Committee member of European Students' Union, where I'm focusing on the topic of quality of higher education, learning and teaching, and recently, digital education. I'm focusing on the topic of quality assurance from the practical side, as a student expert in Polish Accreditation Committee and ESU Quality Assurance Pool. I have an academic background in mechanical engineering and management of production engineering.
Thank you, Jakub. Maybe I would like to add that there are more male names in Poland than Jakub, but Jakub is one of the most popular. We confirm this thesis.
Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. So, we have divided our presentation into two sections.
The first section presents the DASCHE project and its results. It includes also the project's discussion about the definition of social competences.
And the second and the last one is about the possible link between quality culture and the results of DASCHE project. We are going to close our session with short discussion between us.
In the end, we would like to invite participants of the conference to reflection. We form some dilemmas for a discussion. DASCHE project was designed to focus on social competences in higher education in study programs. Social competences are quite often mentioned by different stakeholders of the higher education sector as a key competence. But the study programs have difficulties in including them because of, for example, problems in measurement. How to verify learning outcomes of social competences? This observation was the main reason to start the project. And because of these difficulties, the qualitative methods were used, especially case analysis.
The aim of the DASCHE project, I will remind the name, Development, Assessment and Validation of Social Competences in Higher Education, was to provide assistance to higher education institutions, as well as national and European policymakers in shaping social competences of students. In the DASCHE project, there were involved 6 partners, namely from Germany, Netherlands, UK, Latvia, Czech Republic and Poland. The leading partner was SGH Warsaw School of Economics. There were 11 associated partners, including the European Students' Union and quality assurance agencies, for example, Polish Accreditation Committee.
During DASCHE project were many workshops organized, 2 open conferences in Bremen and in Warsaw, and 8 intellectual outputs prepared. We recommend especially the last intellectual output, which was also published, presenting the final conclusions of the project, directly on the slide. All results are available on the website of DASCHE. During the project, there were many discussions where there was very difficult to reach one universal answer. Of the most fundamental challenge was the definition of social competences. Each partner had a little bit different approach and understanding. Some results of the discussions are presented on this slide. We finally agreed that we do not offer one standard definition, but we highlight our diversity and we try to identify similarities. All partners recognize social competences as an overall meta-competence built over knowledge and skills enriched by axiological reflection, enabling an independent and responsible application of social competences aimed at common social good. In the intellectual output 8, you find the definitions presented by partners. This experience was very inspiring for us. On one side, we could interpret the situation as a failure. One definition was not agreed, But on the other side, we learn a lot from each other discussing this topic, and we could see value in these discussions. Because we had time in the project for this type of discussions, there was room for them. Our field research based on audits had a similar structure. A lot of discussions, but difficulties in forming one precise answer. Fortunately, our task was just to collect discussions and present them as good practices. All these observations navigated us to the main recommendation from this research: to create room to reflect on designing, developing, and assessing social competences of students in higher education institutions. To run continuous debate among higher education institutions associations, quality assurance agencies, students associations, employers, non-government organizations, national and European policymakers about social competences in higher education.
Thank you for that summary. Jakub, let's return to the main core of our presentation, the quality assurance. Would you share with us your reflection on how the quality assurance process should be designed to provide value in designing, delivering, and validating social competences of students?
Sure, thank you, Jakub. I think the quality assurance process should also provide room for lecturers to run discussions about social competences and broader about didactics. These discussions should be also a source of some codified procedures, but the broad debate about teaching is necessary for quality assurance focus on building supporting for teaching, learning, quality culture. Jakub, and what is your opinion from the student's perspective? How the collaboration between students and teaching staff, governance of higher education institutions should be structured to support the development of social competences in teaching programs? How may quality assurance systems at higher education institutions support this collaboration?
I think the answer to that question starts with the level of learners' involvement in quality assurance processes. It is also necessary to notice the different challenges in student engagement, which are not the same when it comes to internal and external quality assurance processes. In external QA systems, it's visible that since the adoption of ESGs in 2015, nearly all of the agencies are involving students in their work. Also, the professionalization of student experts and strengthening their engagement in, for example, panel reviews has changed positively. Training for experts, organized often in cooperation with national student unions, are equipping the candidates with good understanding and skills for conducting the external reviews and to cooperate with the review panels. But those are often people very motivated and interested in quality assurance processes, so they also perceive that work as their natural path for growth. I believe that if the internal systems of higher education institutions, its departments and faculties, will have the strategies supporting the quality culture in place, which would raise the awareness and help to design, deliver, and validate the social competences, then students in external quality assurance are ready to assess those and make suggestions on what could be done better, which is ultimately the role of the external QA. When we are talking about the internal processes on the level of higher education institution, I think the starting point for even raising that need of delivering social competences lies within the area of promoting the participation of students in the process of co-owning their learning path and showing that they can have an impact on it. From one of the surveys conducted by ESU, 74% out of 40 countries stated that one of the main barriers of student involvement is a lack of information about quality assurance. So going back to the main question before designing the quality assurance processes, higher education institutions need to ensure that students are invited to co-own their learning process, assess it, and have influence on programs and delivery methods of learning. And that should be done from the beginning of the learner's path in their education.
Thank you, Jakub.
In addition to that, there are quite interesting keywords formed during DASCHE project, like diversity, reflection, respect, responsibility, trust, engagement, and meaning. They are also important in the quality culture focused on trust. I know some of the universities develops now quality assurance systems in this direction, to include more trust components in quality assurance processes.
This is true. So it leads us to the subject of a quality culture. On one side, the term quality culture is presented in our network. ESG uses it. There are interesting and valuable reports prepared by European University Association. On the other side, quality culture is still a challenge. It's something that exists and it shouldn't be perceived as a solution to the problems located in teaching and learning. It's also a broader term because an institution has just an organizational culture, and it might be impossible to divide an higher education institution into teaching, researching, and third mission, for example. So the challenge is how the quality assurance may support a quality culture focused on enhancing teaching and learning. In my opinion, the first step would be the same as the main recommendation of the DASCHE project. It has to be a room for all engaged stakeholders to run continuous debates about this. What do you think about it, Jakub?
Definitely, the room for the discussion is one of the main prerequisites before even thinking of moving forward and talking about establishing the working quality culture. However, just the room for the discussion and the discussion outcomes carried out shall find its way for implementation. That is where both internal and external quality assurance should find their role. But from my experience, what I do observe in lots of different reviewed programs or institutions, before putting all the responsibility to quality assurance, it is important to ensure that all the stakeholders of the respective institution, namely students, teachers, governance, external stakeholders, administrative staff, would find themselves on the same page, with a certain mindset that achieving the quality is not a goal in itself, but rather the constant process of dialogue, developments, and understanding of different needs. That would be still an unsolved challenge for every single case separately, not necessarily only happening in higher education institutions.
Thank you, Jakub. So to summarize our discussion about the quality culture, how important is quality culture in designing, delivering, and validating social competences of students?
So, to summarize the circle, I would describe it in a few points. At the beginning of any module, course, program, students should feel invited to participate in it and co-own their course. Second of all, learners need to know what they can expect from it. So all the transparency on what the course is built on, what competencies will be taught, and if there are certain social competences included, there should be a transparent and designed assessment procedure to verify those. Thirdly, to achieve this, both learners and teachers need to have sufficient support from their institution in various elements, such as flexibility, technical support in designing, learning and teaching, etc. And lastly, to assess the validate and the effectiveness of learning and teaching, the certain mechanisms of surveying, measuring the satisfaction level and validation of the competencies should be in place, bearing in mind that they cannot overburden both learners and the teachers. And to refer to quality assurance, Jakub, how does quality assurance relate to quality culture? What is the definition of a quality culture? What do you think about it?
The definition of quality culture is presented quite well in the documents of European University Association. But I think that with the quality culture, it's similar to social competences. It's very difficult to agree on one standard definition. Crucial is running continuous discussions about this term because it gives the participants a broader view and they can adopt some other opinions. Quality assurance should have this offer for the academic staff, offering communication channels more qualitative, so not equipped with detailed procedures, may bring higher engagement of all higher education institution stakeholders.
Thank you for that answer. Shall we maybe now invite our audience to debate?
Sure, go ahead.
The main goal of our presentation was to present DASHE project and discuss about quality assurance, social competences, and quality culture. Here are some our conclusions from this discussion. First of all, navigating the quality culture, enhancing teaching and learning at higher education institutions is a very big challenge, but we need tools to do this. Quality assurance, because of its role in naming some processes, is a natural process in an institution to propose a language to navigate the quality culture. Thirdly, The quality culture is not an object of management itself, so it cannot be equipped with metrics and indicators. And last but not least, the first step would be creating room to reflect on for all stakeholders of higher education institutions. Active participation in discussions leads to higher engagement. We invite you to share your reflections on the 13th of November during the discussion after our session.
Thank you very much, and see you at the conference.